Hello folks, I'm Cooper and today I'm cooking with cleavers. We're talking about the KF1912 or the CCK KF1912. This is a knife I've talked about in a lot of other videos. It is a very good stainless steel knife and I've compared it to a lot of things, put it in the best knife picks video, but today I'm making an actual video talking about the specifics of it since I've done similar videos for like the CCK 19 or the CCK 1301 and like the Shibazzle TP03 and those sorts of knives. So this is a specific knife review to the KF1912, talking about what's good about it and who should buy it. If you want the short rundown and you don't want to watch however long this turns into, the CCK KF1912 is a very good slicing cleaver. It's stainless steel. It's probably a good option for most people. They're sometimes a little bit pricey in the United States, but I think they're worth it for several reasons that you should continue to watch to understand why. But if you don't want to hear all of that stuff, you can just go buy it at places like chefsknifestogo.com. It's probably like $85 or so. You might be able to find it for $75 to $80 at other websites in the United States. And if you're in other places in the world, I have no idea what you can get it for there, but it's a good knife. I enjoy using it and I think it's worth the money. So into the specifics of this knife. As you can see, it's not a huge Chinese slicing cleaver. It has about an 8-inch blade or 203 millimeters or so. One of my favorite slicing cleavers is also CCK. It's the 1301. It's 240 something millimeters, so significantly longer, like an inch and a half or something longer. It's also a little bit taller, but the height, so the length on this, as I said, is 203 millimeters or about 8 inches. The height is, where is that height? That height is 91 millimeters or about 3 5/8 inches, I believe. And that height is pretty good. I can still get a straight pinch grip. Granted, I have short fingers, so if you have big hands, you may not be able to do a straight pinch grip and have to do some angle or something, but that's not that big of a deal. For the weight of this, it's a very lightweight slicing cleaver. It's 271 grams. Yeah, it's lightweight. For example, this KF 1301 is 384 grams, so over 100 grams more. So this is a very lightweight and nimble slicing cleaver, which is something I quite enjoy about it. The steel is an unknown stainless steel. What I can tell you is it is a fairly soft stainless steel. It has plenty of rigidity to it, but in terms of like edge retention, it's a fairly soft stainless steel. So you will have to sharpen this knife frequently if you're going to enjoy it. I use this knife for the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's the only knife I've been using in my kitchen, or maybe, yeah, probably about 3 weeks. And I didn't sharpen it at all during that time just to see how it got. And it got pretty dull. I mean, it's probably still sharper than most kitchen knives in most people's kitchens, but most kitchen knives are dull and garbage. After 3 weeks, I noticed it was considerably duller than when I started, and some other knives dull a lot slower. For example, the Shibazzle 3-layer steel knives have a bit harder of a steel, 8CR13 core steel that's hardened fairly well in it, and it has good retention, at least better than the CCK has. And the CCK carbon steel knives also have better edge retention, I believe. So that softness of the steel in the KF1912 is also fairly well publicized online. If you look at different comment groups and stuff, it's a soft knife, so you will have to sharpen it. If you don't like sharpening knives, don't get this knife. If you do like sharpening knives, it'll be perfect for you. Just sharpen it probably like once a week for slight maintenance If you go longer than that, you'll have to do a little bit more time on the stones, but it's easy to sharpen, and I enjoy sharpening it on most stones. Yeah, each knife reacts differently on different stones. I think on my Chaucera or Nano Pro stones, it wasn't quite as nice as some other knives were, but on my Suhiro stones, it was very nice. So I don't know, maybe I was just having a strange day sharpening it on my Chauceras versus my Suhiros, but that's whatever. It's a reasonably good sharpening stone on any sharpening stone, but I found it to be more enjoyable on some Suhiros that I had. For finish and stuff on this knife, it is a fairly nice finished knife, but a little bit shiny, which means it'll show fingerprints and stuff. Not like a mirror polish, so I am grateful it doesn't have a mirror polish and it doesn't have any weird tacky non-stick layers that don't work. I have many knives that claim to have a non-stick layer. They don't generally provide much, and generally are probably more for style or something, but I think they look tacky usually. So I'm grateful that this knife does not have it. They just give me a simple, nice blade. The handle quality is very nice on the stainless steel CCKs. It has a brass bolster here. In comparison to like the carbon steel CCKs, the carbon steel CCKs I think have a steel bolster here, and the wood is unfinished on this carbon steel lineup, but on the stainless steel lineup it is a nice sanded and they have some sort of finish on it. I don't really know what it is, but it's not slick or anything. It gives you good purchase on the knife, and it feels comfortable, and you don't have to do any work on it out of box. It just works nice. So I'm very grateful for that. The markings on the blade, I have a old model CCK, so it has a metal stamp so that you can feel it. It's embossed or whatever. Maybe that's the word. Anyway, stamped into the blade with the markings, and on it it says that it's a number 2 non-stainless, or a number 2 stainless steel blade. That's Tu Busho Gang Li, and then it has a bunch of other markings, including the CCK, the Changzhuge, and some other stuff that I can't really read because it's not a super clear metal stamp. And it also has like the phone number for the store in Hong Kong. Anyway, what you need to know is that this type of stamp is on old models pre-2021. You can still get them in some places. There are, in 2021, they released a new series or whatever that uses an ink stamp on the blade, so it doesn't leave any imprint in the metal. It's just an ink stamp, and it looks stupid, and they should change back. If CCK is watching this, which they probably aren't because I'm not that big of a deal, but if I ever get to be a big enough deal and you do watch this, change it back to the old stamp. That's what everyone wants. At least that's what every American wants. We like things that have metal stamps. They look cooler and last longer and don't scratch off. I have not gotten one with one of the ink stamps because I don't want one. So there's my 2 cents. You can probably ask the company that you're ordering the knife from whether or not it has the ink stamp or the metal stamp. Try to get a metal stamp one if you can. They look way cooler, way better, and more traditional and all that stuff. So there you go. Anyway, so fit and finish on the CCK is very good. Probably the best of one of the best of the knives I have, at least in Chinese cleavers. The profile is also very good on this knife, very nice and flat. There's not much rocking to it, so you've got flat up front and flat in the rear pretty much, and very little rocking, so you don't have to, when you're doing a push cut or a chop cut, it's very effective to get through everything, especially like proteins and stuff that you're slicing through, or yeah, basically if you're slicing through any large amount of things, the profile on this is helpful. I do generally like to have a slightly longer blade, but this works out fine, makes it nice and nimble. For packaging of the blade, the old style, so pre-2021 manufacturer, come in this paper blade packaging that just comes over the blade like this with some rubber bands around it. On this packaging it says "mu bing xiao pian dao," which is that blue stuff on there, or the blue stamp on there. The post-2021 production, or the 2021 and after manufacturer knives, come in like boxes. I forget what the boxes look like, but boxes which are nice to protect the knife probably, but yeah, the knives have a stamp instead of like an ink stamp instead of a metal stamp, so yeah, I don't really care about the boxes. And then alternatives to this blade. So obviously I said this is a very nice stainless steel knife, but it needs to be sharpened a lot. If you're looking for something that is a stainless steel blade that doesn't need to be sharpened as often, I would probably go with something like the CCK or the Shibazuzuo TP03 or Shibazuzuo F208. Their blade has a harder and higher quality stainless steel as its core, which makes it retain its edge longer. It's also cheaper. You can get them on Amazon usually for around $45, whereas the CCK usually runs like $85-ish in the United States. A thing to note though is the CCK is significantly thinner of a blade behind the edge, and a lighter, more maneuverable knife than the Shibazuzuo knife. So if you're looking for something that's thin, light, and maneuverable, the CCK is probably the way to go, generally speaking, at least between the Shibazuzuo F208 or TP03 and this. If you're looking for a knife that, if you don't care about carbon steel or stainless steel, generally I prefer the carbon steel lineup from CCK. So the 1301 is my preferred, but you can also get the 1302 or 1303. The 1303 is probably about the same size as the KF1901. This is a comparison of the 1302 and the 1302 and the 1912. So this is just slightly larger. Yeah, but so as I said before, the CCK KF1912 is one of the thinnest slicing cleavers I have. I do have one thinner stainless steel slicing cleaver, and that's a Maestro production. The D11 is the one that I measured. This is a G9 or a G7, but this one is a smaller version than the one that I measured for it. But if you're looking for a very, very thin slicing cleaver, the Maestro D11 and similar are actually thinner, basically all along the blade. If you were to pull up a choil picture and compare these, you probably wouldn't notice it, but the Maestro is thinner. Also, I think the Maestro knives, the steels and the Maestro, I think are harder and higher quality than the steel, or at least harder, so they have better edge retention than this 1912. However, generally speaking, I prefer the belly profile of this CCK knife more than the Maestro knife. The Maestro knife is usually a little, it feels a little more rounded to me, and I prefer a flatter profile. So that's also another option, a harder to get option, but you can get it at gendaindustries.com, and they're good people. So that is another option. So that's basically it for this review of the CCK KF1912. It's just a good knife. I enjoy it. Lots of people complain about how expensive it is today. Apparently like 5 years ago you could get it for half or a third of price or whatever. I personally got this knife, I got this knife here in Taiwan for probably like 1,200 NTD or so, so around $40. So I can get it significantly cheaper here in Taiwan, but I'm in Taiwan. Most of you who are watching are probably in the United States. It's a lot cheaper to just order it online in the US and pay the $40 more rather than, fly all the way to Taiwan or Hong Kong to buy the knife and then fly back. But if you are traveling here to Asia sometime, you could look for it and pick it up probably for a better deal than you can get in the United States. As I said before, it's available on chefsknivesToGo.com. I think there's also some place called Atlantic Sales or something like that. I'll put a couple of places where I found it down in the description. I purchased this knife on my own. I'm not affiliated with any knife stores that sell this, so. Or CCK itself, they don't know who I am. But thank you for watching this episode of Cooking with Cleavers. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and the notification bell so you can be informed and stay tuned to when I post new videos. Also, if you'd like to support my channel so I can get more cleavers to review, I have a Patreon account. Cooking with Cleaver, Patreon/Cooking with Cleavers or something like that. I'll put that down in the description and probably along the screen here. So if you'd like to support me there, I would be grateful for that. And feel free to share this with friends and family.